And I will.
Smeggy, we need music.
These are the things that nightmares are made of.
Yeah. Welcome everyone to Hit or Miss. Thank you, Smeggy, for your musical.
Don't say thank you for that. No one wants to hear that crap.
Stylings of Smeggy.
Oh, that's even better. Sean, you may have to do our trailers from now on. And anyways, tonight I'm joined by Heavy B.
Hey y'all, what's going on?
Followed by everyone's favorite, Mr. Polecat.
Howdy.
And then Sean Ponery.
Evening, everybody.
And my co-pilot, or sidekick, or am I your sidekick? I'm not sure. Smeggy, 42.
Yep, saving the best for last. How's it going, guys?
All right, I'm Night Strike. Tonight we're going to be talking about carrying in general. I want to first talk about some bills that are going through the South Carolina State House. Well, not House, the Senate right now. Tomorrow they're going to be voting, or they're going to be going through the whole committee for better reciprocity bills with the Georgia and North Carolina. We don't really have good reciprocity with them, so that's one of the bills that's going through. And then another bill is a backdoor constitutional carry bill that the House passed, like by, I think it was like an 85% margin. That is how much it passed by last year. And, you know, the Senate decided, you know, we're just going to throw that in the committee and hope everyone forgets about it. Well, guess what? The NRA didn't forget. They're plastering it all over their website. So I don't think people have forgotten about it. So they're going to either have to listen and hear on it, because they have both of those scheduled tomorrow. And I hope something gets done. I really do. But knowing them, they'll probably find some way to piss us all off, because that's just how, you know, rhinos and, you know, liberal Democrats are, right? It's too bad Yankees not in here to tell us how liberals and Democrats think. You know, but anyways, that's what I want to talk about tonight. So we're going to talk about open carry. You know, we might even get to concealed carry. You know, but you know, I want to hear all your thoughts, because some of you guys are from open carry states, and some of you are from no carry states. So you know, I want to hear your opinions on, you know, the whole open carry or constitutional carry, depends on whichever you have, and what your thoughts on it are. So, Polecat, what's going on in your state? You said something's going on.
Well, we've been trying to pass constitutional carry since last year, and they finally passed it again this latest legislative session. They passed it last year, but it was right at the end of the session, and our wonderful Governor Tomlin vetoed it, and they didn't have time to override his veto last year. They passed it again this year. He vetoed it again. They overrode the veto, and so West Virginia becomes a constitutional carry state on the 26th of May, I think, is when it goes into effect. But in the meantime, we've always been an open carry state, and we have had concealed carry since 1992, I think, maybe. But honestly, before we had legal concealed carry, I just concealed carried illegally anyway, because there was a $50 fine for doing so. But maybe I shouldn't say that on the air. I don't know. So yeah, that's the situation in West Virginia.
Well, that's funny, because I remember my grandfather, who's from West Virginia, Wayne County in particular. That's where all his family were from too. Back in like the 20s, and you know, in the 20s, my great grandfather always open carried anyways. So I don't know if it was different back then, where they just didn't care, or what.
Yeah, I don't know when they banned. When they started restricting concealed carry. I think it might have been in '68 or something like that, wasn't it? I don't know. I'm not up on that stuff. I probably ought to be, but I'm not.
Well, I only mentioned this. I only mentioned that part because my grandfather was scared at one point when his dad was open carrying. Not at his dad, but because there's this one guy his my great grandfather didn't get along with, and they were both walking on the opposite side of the road, and they both had a 6-shooter on their hips, so he was afraid that other guy was going to start shooting at my great grandfather's.
Maybe it's just the way it is where I live in particular. Maybe all of the state isn't like this, but I carried a Ballester Molina for years inside the waistband, and finally decided that I didn't think the thing was safe, and I carried a single action Army for a little while outside the waistband, and then I switched to a Beretta 92, and I haven't really tried to conceal either of those. This has been, I don't know, 5 years of this or something like that, and nobody has ever said anything to me about carrying a gun, even though it's obvious that I'm doing so. Nobody gives a damn around here, so I don't know, maybe it's different where the population's a little more dense, but around here it's a nice place to live in that way.
Yeah, well, you're not in the same county as my grandfather was from, so.
I don't know, but no.
No, it's that Wayne County is like on the border with Kentucky and the other state.
Yeah, that's exactly the opposite side of the state for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, Sean, tell us what's going on in Texas.
So we got a new governor, and he recently pushed forward for open carry, which took effect January 1st. It's licensed open carry, so if you were a concealed carry holder, then you can now be a open carry holder.
Is the blood running in the streets yet?
Nope. The biggest fear was that it would be the Old West, and there were going to be shootings in the streets, and people were going to start shooting each other over traffic incidents. And a really strange thing happened, especially out here in Houston. The number of shootings dropped, but the number of hit-and-run car fatalities tripled.
What it is. It seems like it always surprised me that Texas didn't have open carry, because you'd think if there was any state that had open carry, it would be Texas. You know what I'm saying?
If there was any state that was constitutional carry, it should have been Texas. And I think the theory behind it is our governor, Greg Abbott, he's a heavy Second Amendment supporter. And I don't doubt for a second that he wouldn't push a bill for constitutional carry. But his staff and the people close to him probably laid it out to him that say, look, this state just got concealed carry on a massive scale, and there's still campus carry issues that we need to deal with. There's still just moms demand attention issues that we need to deal with. Let's go about this in a more clinical way. Let's make a licensed open carry and do a case study for, say, about 3 years, gather some statistics and some data. And once we have all the information that can prove our case, then we should be able to landslide push constitutional carry once we can show all the people against it that the last 3 years have shown no ill effects. So I think he's actually just doing this as a case study, and all the licensing fees for the next 3 years that he's collecting will help pay for that study, essentially.
Awesome. And Sean Carter is fashionably late tonight.
Yeah, sorry about that. The after chat ran a little late.
Well, you should have invited them over.
Well, Daryl, he lives a town over, so
well, I meant to hit him.
He had to. Oh well, they were getting ready to leave. See, they closed the shop up at 6 o'clock, so we close the shop up and then do the show right as the shop is closing. Pretty much, we're locking the door up and getting ready for the show. That's how come we have hiccups a lot of times. And I even tried to get there early today, because I was there half of the day this morning, and then I went home and then came back up there this evening for the show. And I even came in a little early so that we could get things set up. And then I don't know what happened, but we weren't getting the feed through the computer. It was just a mess for about 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, we had that silence. For anyone that doesn't know what Sean's talking about, he's talking about Andalusia Armory. They're having a new live podcast live show every Tuesday at what time?
At 6 o'clock Central Time. It's
Yeah,
Andalusia
it's
Armory Shop Talk.
shop talk. It's always nice to hear about shop talk, especially from a gun shop. Anyways, Sean, tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods with open carry, concealed carry, constitutional carry. Anything going on with any of that? Or do you have it? Do you not have it? Well, what's going on?
Well, we have a pretty easily obtained concealed carry. Open carry is you can open carry, unless otherwise, like a property owner says that you can't, and then you're trespassing. If whatever, it's that sort of thing. The sign doesn't really mean anything except that they can tell you to leave. Concealed carry is by permit. The permit is a background check that is a little more thorough than a 4473 NICS, when you go do a NICS check and all that crap. It's a little more thorough because they check into like current warrants and things like that the NICS check doesn't always catch, like you're like wanted because you're not paying your child support or whatever. That'll keep you from getting a concealed carry permit here, apparently. But like if you didn't show up for court or something. But that may not get caught on a NICS check. Whereas it takes, like they say, it takes 2 weeks. But if you're doing a renewal, they'll do it right there. And when you do your thing and you come back in 2 weeks, they run that check while you're sitting there. That's how easy it is to get the permit here. So it would take like a gnat's ass to change that to constitutional carry, pretty much. That's how close it is.
So you're just like one step in, more or less.
Yeah, it's barely anything. I mean, pretty much, unless you're, unless you're a criminal, then you can get a concealed carry permit. Unless you go getting arrested for getting in bar fights every weekend, or don't pay your child support, and you're about to go to jail for that, or something stupid, then you can get a permit. It doesn't take anything. It's like you can get it for up to 5 years. Yeah, you can get it for up to 5 years at a time, and and it's like $20 a year, and you can do it for 5 years at a time. So it's $100 for 5 years concealed carry permit.
Awesome.
And that also allows you to carry loaded in your vehicle. And because if you're carrying open carry, then there are certain things you have to go by as far as transporting a firearm in your vehicle. There's the whole thing where you have to. It's like has to be out of arm's reach, and it's got to like be out of arm's reach. If you put it in a locked container, like in the
glove box?
In a box, in a pistol case. If it's in a locked pistol case, then it's pretty much it's good. But then the ammo has to be separate from it and all. It's pretty close to the same in most places, I think, as far as transport. But if you have your concealed carry permit, you can carry it loaded. So there's that big difference there.
All right, Smeggy, tell me about Michigan.
Okay, well, Michigan has, let's see, you have a shall issue, concealed carry. You have to take like a 8-hour class with some of the time on the range, and there's no specific requirement, but basically the instructor has to feel comfortable that you're competent with the gun. They basically put a silhouette up, 7 yards away, and you shoot at it 100 times and make sure you hit the paper most of the time. And that's about it. But we also are open carry, and I was going to comment on something, forget who it was now even, but the guy was saying, hey, man, I carry all the time. No one says anything. That's how, up north, rural Michigan, I've seen people open carrying. I've open carried. No one said anything. I live kind of near Detroit. It may be different down here. I've only seen one guy down here open carrying, but no one said anything. Like, I was out to lunch, and I saw him and his girlfriend or whatever get up and go pay and then walk out. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Dude was open carrying. My mom was like, what? I didn't even see it. She was sitting right there. She didn't even see him. So I think that's one of the things with open carry. People are worried about drawing attention to themselves and whatnot. Honestly, if you're just talking open carry as far as pistol in a holster, dude, most people don't care about you. Well, they're playing on their phones. They're doing whatever. Like, nobody cares. So
Yeah,
I would say if that's how you want to carry, go ahead and do it. I don't worry about that. I think when you're talking like rifle open carrying, that's a bit more attention grabbing.
Yeah.
I think you should be allowed to. I just personally think it's, you're asking for trouble.
You should be allowed to, but don't do the whole Chipotle Ninja thing.
Well, I think the thing is, if you want to do that, go ahead. If you're making a political point, hey, I support you. Go ahead, make your political point or whatever. But don't get, upset when people, like the cops come to check you out and stuff. Like, you have to expect that. And I think they do. They know that's what's going to happen.
Well, those guys were kind of acting like douches about the whole thing anyway.
They were holding it like, 2 o'clock or something like that?
And then another thing about Michigan here, since you also were mentioning constitutional carry, we have constitutional carry introduced, I believe, in the House in February. So we'll see where that goes. I haven't heard much about it recently, but we'll see what happens. They've tried it before in the past, and it never went anywhere, so we'll see if this one goes anywhere. But we do have a Republican governor, and he's done a handful of things for guns, so if it gets that far, I would expect Snyder to sign it.
On the topic of getting constitutional carry passed, as much as I like the NRA, it was actually a state-level gun rights organization that was kind of pivotal in getting constitutional carry passed in West Virginia. They call themselves the West Virginia Citizens Defense League, and I think that there's probably such an organization in every state, and I think that it's vital for us to not only support the NRA but also our local, like state-level gun rights organizations, because they're the ones that really, focus on our particular interests, whereas the NRA is kind of like a federal outfit, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Well, they more have their finger on the pulse of what's going on right there, and while they can affect things and get things where the NRA can maybe do something, they still, the local level, that state organization is going to have a lot more pull because they're right there. They know exactly what's going on.
So I want to ask Kevy B, what state are you moving to since you can't have open or concealed carry?
That's not true. My county is the 5th highest rated county in issuing CCWs. We've also got in San Bernardino, or in California anyway. We've also got, right now we have like over, I think it's growing. It's like almost a 2-year backlog to get your CCW. Ever since
like 5 permits or something?
No, it's just they're understaffed ever since the terrorist shooting that they're calling it, whatever. The December 2nd shooting here in San Bernardino. Our sheriff has come out openly and told everybody to go get CCWs, and they've just been backlogged. They don't have the personnel to process all the background checks and all that necessary for it. Which, by the way, is like $350 to get your CCW plus. I think that includes the class. You have to take a 16-hour course. It's pretty much like a PCA 32 firearms course, which is like the very basic firearms course for law enforcement. So, but yeah, we do not have concealed carry out here, open carry. Sorry, we have concealed. We don't have open. And it'll probably be shortly after Hell Freeze is over that we get constitutional carry. So,
I
That's pretty much how it is out here.
Have you decided which state you're moving to that does have open carry or constitutional carry?
I'm moving into Sean's backyard. Sean, we're gonna have to set up like a treehouse or something, keep me away from the snakes. But other than that,
Well, why don't you just do what Bob does? Get like a trailer or something.
I don't like those things.
The farm next door for me is for sale. You could be my neighbor.
So if you want to ease into freedom and not have to worry about bugs and snakes, you can come up to Michigan. We're about like the middle of the road. Every list where people are ranking states for number of gun laws or whatever, we're in the middle. We got some good stuff. We got some bad stuff.
And just think, if you live in Flint, you can cast bullets right from the tap.
Exactly.
No, that's awesome. Hey, that's a selling point for me.
You're onto my plan, man. I was going to buy a bunch of houses and just leave the faucet running and evaporate the water and melt the lead down.
Oh, cool. You buy those houses, I'll tend them for you.
It'll probably only be $100 each, so I should be able to get a couple of them.
Smegs, I'm telling you, we need to start that factory, I'm going to get my FFL so we can manufacture ammunition.
Nice. All right. I'll look into it. I'll get going.
All right. I don't carry concealed in South Carolina. Choice, just because I'm waiting for open carry. I'm hoping for open carry. Yeah, I don't want to be. I don't even want to go into that, Sean. We're not going to go into that. I'm going to try and get my concealed carry permit, but it'll happen when it happens. I do open carry on my land because in South Carolina you are allowed to open carry on private-owned land if you own it or you have permission. So you're good there. I have county land that I go shooting on all the time, which is right behind my house, so no problems there. But I really hope that that bill goes somewhere. But while I have a lot of hope, I can also see it going the opposite direction because, well, let's be honest. Do politicians really ever do what we want them to?
The good ones do, but they're very rare.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I got an email the other day from the NRA ILA saying that, hey, it's going to the committee. So I go and post it on Reddit. Okay. And if people don't know what Reddit is, basically it's a website where they have a ton of forums for just about everything. And I went on the South Carolina Guns forum and went and posted it, and said I really hope something happens this time. And then I get a bunch of people that go and try and start arguing with me, saying, "Yeah, but unless you've gone through a concealed carry course, I don't want you open carrying." And I get into an argument asking them, where in the Constitution does it say that I need to have a quote unquote, in air quotes with your fingers, a training course, which it's not even training, it's an instruction course. Training means you've been doing it for weeks, months, years. That's training, not instruction. We touched on this
yesterday. Where in the Constitution does it say that we have to be taxed to exercise our constitutional rights either?
Personally, I think "shall not be infringed" is pretty clear, but maybe.
Here's the funny thing: I went and looked infringed, and infringement in a dictionary from 1755. Guess what? It's the same fucking definition as today.
Well, as the great philosopher Hillary Clinton once said, any obstacle to exercising a right is not a right at all. Or something like that.
She can go die in a fire for all I care.
But honestly, she was right in what she said. If there's obstacles in order to do something, then it's not really a right. And she was talking about whatever it was, but the hypocrisy of not relating that to guns, I just don't get it.
You expected anything different from her?
No, they never do. She had a really famous victory speech during, I think, the first or second week of the primaries. She said that she was going to fight for gay rights, transgender rights, birth control rights, the right
I
for
don't
all
really
these
want to
things.
waste all this time on her.
And I was just waiting to hear gun rights. And instead her next sentence was, and we're going to go after the gun lobby. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring up politics. I just
it's not your fault.
It is a great philosophical quote. So
yeah, from someone that doesn't believe in the Constitution. Yeah, but we're not going to waste time on her because she doesn't warrant it. Okay, but I want to continue my whole Reddit rant, and they start complaining. Well, I don't trust that you can be responsible without taking an 8-hour instruction course, and telling me that I need to go and be taxed, to exercise my right. And I go, okay, well, tell me in the Constitution where it says, that I need to pay a tax in order to exercise my right, where I, can't have my constitutional right unless someone says so, because it doesn't. It's, as we were saying, it's not a right if you have to pay for it.
In the Republic, the people hold the ultimate political power. That's, the definition of a republic. And so, therefore, in the Republic, it is the individual person's responsibility to provide for themselves, be it, food, shelter, self-defense, whatever. And if people that don't like guns don't like that, then they can leave the Republic, as far as I'm concerned, because, that's what the United States is all about. So, fuck them, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly, but here's the thing: in this thread, I went back and forth with them a bit, and they were telling me that they don't trust anyone other than those that took these instruction courses, these 8-hour courses, so you can be licensed from the state to concealed carry, in order to own a gun in South Carolina. And I'm like, do you believe in the Constitution at all? Because it sounded to me like they were FUDs, or they were, they're even on the fence about people owning guns in general.
Well, and I have to wonder, have they ever taken that class? Because, like I said, in Michigan, we have an 8-hour thing. So I took the class, and the majority of it was basically all just about the laws, so you don't get yourself in trouble, where you can, where you can't carry, and then, use of lethal force, all that kind of stuff. And basically, this is a gun, point this end this way, and pull this little thingy. I mean, so to think that this, training class is going to be, the ultimate thing you need to know in order to carry a gun is ridiculous, because, I mean, I learned some stuff, but, I do encourage people to learn. That's great, but I don't think it's a requirement for owning a gun or carrying a gun. I mean, they're simple tools. Point towards enemy, pull this thingy. That's what you need to do.
And I understand that the state needs to know that, for those states that are a shall issue or may issue, whatever, they need to know that you actually went through the course and learned the law. I mean, if it was just about the laws in a single state, they should state it. And not saying it's a concealed weapons course. What it is a South Carolina law course.
The nanny state isn't responsible for ensuring that the people know what the law is. It's the people's responsibility for ensuring that they know what the law is. I mean, in the Republic, the people bear the ultimate political power and responsibility. So for the government to presume to know better than the people, that's bullshit, man. That's what I was trying to say before. I think I digress. I'm sorry.
Well,
I would even support.
We haven't been living in a republic for the last 7-8 years now.
Have we not? I don't know. Maybe
we've been living in a democracy because we have a Democrat as president, but he's more socialist than anything.
It's not too late. We haven't gone as far as fucking North Korea or some shit. You know what I'm saying? But this next election, it's gonna tell then. God, we're so fucked, man. We're so fucked.
We are.
The thing is, I would actually support if the state offered a free class talking about the laws, and it was optional. I think a lot of gun owners and a lot of carry people would take that class on their own, because as a whole, CCW holders are the most responsible group of people. We care about our rights and we want to know everything about them. And so if they offered it for free, I would take the class, once every couple of months or something. Just try and learn something new.
Here's the thing. I'm not against concealed carry. I know Sean has mentioned one of the reasons why I don't like it. I also don't like it because the factor is, if any state decides to get really, really pro-liberal and pro-democrat, that they could use that concealed carry permit as a means for backdoor universal background checks, where they can keep tabs on people that own guns. Since they have a concealed weapons permit, of course they own guns. So we need to keep a tab on this person. That's another reason why I'm not so keen on it. I'm not against it, but it's another one of my things to be wary of.
So the greatest part of my concealed carry permit is now, as of 2.5. How long have I had my XD Mod 2? Because as of whenever that night was that I went and picked it up, or that whatever day that was when I went and picked it up, that day, actually it was the day before that, they passed this little thing where they had done it before, but they revoked it because not all of our counties do their CCW checks the same way. But now I can write the number on my concealed carry permit down on the 4473, and there you go. I'm done.
They do that here too, except I got my concealed carry permit too early, and it's only after a certain date that they accept them in lieu of the background check, so I still have to get delayed every time. Aggravating.
I've never gotten delayed anyway. It's just it takes like extra 10 minutes or whatever.
I had a misdemeanor improper storage of solid waste when I was in college. I think that gets me every time. I don't know.
Yeah, it probably does.
Yeah. Well, that's my whole thing on, my whole rant on the whole Reddit arguments thing. I mean, Sean Ponery has more things about him going and arguing with liberals and getting them to convert. So
I've got a question for the chat room at large. National reciprocity. I'm of two minds on national reciprocity. On one hand, it would be awfully convenient, but on the other hand, passing national reciprocity would kind of lend credence to the idea that the federal government has the right to legislate firearms ownership to begin with. If you're following me there. So what do you all think about that?
Well, the Second Amendment in general, just by its own definition.
Yes, I'm not talking.
Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, I was just going to say I can agree with him on the two-front thing, but the two fronts I look at it, the positive and negative I look at it is, yes, it would be great that even people out here in California would be able to carry concealed weapons and be able to go to other states and all that good stuff, and it would be great. The problem I have with it would be giving the federal government the implied power over states.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where my issue is.
Well, they already got that once they won the Civil War.
Well, federal laws in general usually overrule state laws anyway.
Even without all that, it's gonna pretty much come down to it's gonna default to whatever the toughest state is that you can get a concealed carry permit. Everybody would have to do that in order to get one, is the way that it would end up going. Because, look at it realistically, they're not going to put it to, it's going to be, constitutional carry. No, they're going to put it the other way, to where you have to jump through the most hoops possible before you can do it, if it's going to be good everywhere.
Right, and that's another thing. You might have to pay even more than you do already just for getting an initial concealed carry permit in your state. So it's got its pros and it's got its cons. I mean, technically, as I said before, it could also give the government better tabs on who owns guns in America. And I'm not sure we want to give the federal government, that much more information. Not that they might not have it already, but I don't like giving it to them on a silver platter. Okay. So you got that to deal with. But it would be nice, in states that, really restrict people, where being forced to actually accept it, that would be a plus. So it's got two sides. So let me check the channel, see if we got anything down. Yeah. Sure, give him a link. I want to hear what Dano has to say.
Let's send him a link.
I'll do it. Hold on.
Daniel, I believe, is in the great state of Illinois. Isn't
I already got it. I already got it sent. I was just I was 3 tabs over when I was just trying to get back.
Right. That's cool. If Dano wants to get on it, but I don't think Illinois has open carry or concealed. I know they got concealed carry of some sort. I'm not sure how it works though.
Dano ever shows up, we can ask him.
Yeah, I want to hear what he has to say on that, because I want to hear his take on some what we're talking about too, because it's nice to hear a side from someone who lives or is from a different state, because that way you get an understanding of what they're going through and how things are on the opposite side of the fence.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And one of the things I just want to mention while we maybe wait for him, but the constitutional carry thing. I don't know if you guys saw the NRA did. Oh, sorry about that. The NRA did like a town hall thing. I believe it was yesterday, where they actually took questions from people and answered them and whatever. And one of the people said, well, now that we have constitutional carry in 2 states, are you worried about people carrying and causing trouble or whatever? And the guy was pretty quick to correct, it's not just 2 states. There's a handful of them now. And if you look at those states, they haven't had the problems that everyone thinks that they're going to be having. So I think the more states that do that, then that's more ammo to fight the Californias and the New Yorks and all those people, because they all say, like we mentioned before, blood in the streets and shooting people over parking spots, and you can just point to all the other states where that doesn't happen and say they've had constitutional carry for 10 years and nothing bad's happened.
You can point out Vermont, which is one of the original 13 colonies.
Yeah, but that doesn't fit the narrative, though. I mean, the same could be said for semi-automatic rifles. They've been around for more than 100 years, but apparently they're this new thing that kills lots and lots of people now. So you gotta ban them all, gotta ban them all, gotta ban them all.
Well, see, the way you defeat them is you beat them at their own game. And the way you beat them at their own game is you use one of the examples that they love to use when it comes to licensed carry, is you have to get a license and go through courses to get a driver's license. Why should it be any different with your gun? Well, the reason being is because there's no constitutional amendment or anything that tells you that you have the right to drive a car. You have the right to travel between states, but it doesn't say you have the right to drive a car. So That's the difference. Now, the way you defeat them into their own circular logic is you tell them, look, I would take a 25-hour training course and get certified in my handgun and my long gun and my shotgun, 3 separate certifications, if I get 50 state constitutional carry and reciprocity. Their head would explode, because
You
by
just
the
being
definition,
racist now. See,
by the definition
that's
of
where they come in
Constitution,
with
that's
with
50
that.
state constitutional carry, that's 50 state reciprocity, because that trumps any state law. Federal law usually trumps state law. That's why in your appeals process, the ultimate court, you still go to a federal court at the end. That's why that trumps everything else.
Yeah. All right, Dano, you're fashionably late tonight.
Yes, I am.
I want to ask you, Dano. You're in the neck of the woods of Illinois, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Could you go over, how if you guys have open carry or concealed carry and how that works within your neck of the woods?
Sure. First, we do not have open carry, and we only recently received our rights back on concealed carry. That was through the courts. That was not through our legislature. They were forced to. We do have shell issue, which is the only good thing in addition to having it, because having it without shell issue, we might as well be New Jersey, Hawaii, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, as far as carry is concerned. But do you want to know what we have to do to actually get it?
Yeah, what entails you going and getting it?
What's that?
What entails going and getting it? Is it a class you got to take, and then you have to do some stuff? What's going on?
First, you have to get a Illinois Firearms Owner Identification Card, and you fill out a form. You used to have to mail it to the state police, but now you can send it electronically. And then in 90 days, you will get that back, hopefully, and they'll do a background check on you saying that you're okay to either purchase a firearm, ammunition, or magazines. Okay. Once you have that firearms owner identification card, then you can apply for concealed carry card. Okay. And the first thing you have to do is take a class, which is 16 hours long. In addition to that class, you also have to take a qualification firing test. Okay. After that class, you can then go get fingerprinted. After you get fingerprinted, you then submit your application with a check for $153.40 to the state of Illinois, and in no set time period, they will review your application and get back to you.
3 cheers for the bureaucracy.
Yes.
Okay.
So after everything is said and done, it's over $500.
I'm not so sure Heavy B isn't better off than you are.
Paying the fees, but we do have shall issue, and that's a big one right there. That's what separates it from us becoming a Hawaii or becoming a New York or a New Jersey.
Do you have magazine restrictions?
In certain locations, we not only have magazine restrictions, we also have restrictions on type of guns, such as we have no black gun zones. The city of Chicago, all of Cook County, excuse me, not all of Cook County, about 15 cities surrounding Chicago and Cook County have both black rifle bans, magazine limits of various amounts. I mean, it goes from 6 rounds to 10 rounds to 15 rounds to 12 rounds. I mean, it's all over the place. What the suburbs of Chicago did as far as magazine limitations. And the city of Chicago also has, in addition to that, a ban on lasers. So if you have a laser in addition to a light, you can get arrested for that, even if you've got everything else.
Okay, Dano, don't take any offense, but Heavy B, are you still there?
Of course.
I hate to say this, and I don't mean any offense to either of you, but Heavy B, I think you have the better end of the deal in California.
At least in San Bernardino County. I think San Bernardino and Riverside counties are probably the two most. Well, no, Orange County is in there too, as the gun friendliest in Southern California.
And I don't mean any offense, Dano. That sounds ridiculous. It sounds complicated, and above all, it sounds stupid and against what this country is about.
We're limited to 10 rounds in handguns and rifles, and I believe that includes like even tubular-fed rifles. So it's like 10-round magazine capacity, either tube or box, and it costs like $350 for the license. Plus, you got to do the background class, like the background check, the class, 16 hours, just like Dano's. It's a hassle. but it can be done.
But, that's where the advantage of shall issue in our state versus those who live in L.A. County, as an example, have no chance.
Yeah.
San Diego area, no chance.
See, as a Texan, that just sounds like living on another planet to me. I mean, I'm limited to how much ammo I can physically carry.
Well, how do you think I feel? I'm originally from Arizona.
Well, dude,
I
I'm in
hear these
California. It
things.
sounds like communism to me.
I
Sorry,
hear these
Sean.
things, and I'm just
I
like,
live in South Carolina. You've already heard how South Carolina is. I'd rather be back in Arizona, but
Yeah.
the world doesn't always work that way.
I live far outside those areas, so I don't have to worry about dealing with them, but I do drive in and about that areas with family, so I still need to be aware of them.
Absolutely. All right.
Now, just before I got in here, you guys were talking about, essentially, you didn't call it this, but you were talking about national carry, sort of.
Yeah, we were talking about the whole national reciprocity thing that
Right.
one of the candidates wants to do. I don't too much want to go broach the topic of the candidates themselves, just that little
Right.
portion.
And that's all I wanted to speak on. Is I think as for those who write letters, emails, or will take phone calls on the behalf of gun owners, that group, not necessarily all gun owners, because if you don't pick up the phone, make an email or a snail mail, you're a non-issue for all practical purposes, or vote. But we have to be careful what we ask for, and the reason I say that is because asking for a national reciprocity or something thereabouts, it is a double-edged sword. Although we raise the states that obviously are being denied their natural rights, we also bring down the states that are doing very well in regards to their rights. So I don't think it's fair to, as a teeter-totter, to bring down the states that are doing well to raise the handful of states that are not, rather than to say, well, let's raise the states that are not doing well to the same level of the other states that are doing well.
Okay.
We don't need to bring down Arizona just to bring up Maryland.
And again, Dan's right, because there's always the possibility that if they give us national carry, that they can take national carry away. Right now it's a state-regulated thing, not a federal regulated thing, which everything is being taken over by the federal government right now.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be so opposed to it if it meant that they had a clause in there where they can't take it away. But they're not going to do that because they're politicians, of course. But I would feel much better if they were going to implement something like that. There would be some sort of thing where they could not take it away.
Well, it would have to be a state-to-state collaboration just on a national level without involving the federal layer in that. It would just have to be that each state got together and decided to do it. And I don't think that's ever going to happen, but that would be the only way to do it without federal intervention.
And that would be equal to
keeping the feds out of it.
That would be equal to passing an amendment to the Constitution like we had before a lot of you were born back in the early 70s. We had the Equal Rights Amendment that eventually failed because not all the states passed it.
You surprised?
No, I'm just saying that it would take a greater cooperation amongst the states for something like that to ever succeed.
Right. So Nathan,
That would be interesting because there are more pro-gun states than anti-gun states. That would be a good way to put up a constitutional amendment to do that, and then just have us pro-gun states really stick it to the East Coasters.
Am I the only one who doesn't think that you need a constitutional amendment when there's already one right there that gives us the right to have what we already have?
You're right on, man.
You don't need a second amendment. That's redundant.
Well, we shouldn't, but they have bastardized it so badly and gutted it that.
Well, they haven't line item vetoed it.
And I just mean maybe. I don't say that this is
all
what
in the
I
name of interpretation.
Believe, maybe we do need something like that.
Yeah.
And that's with no thought behind it. Maybe we don't.
Be careful where you're treading, gents. They might actually do it and fuck everything all up.
And that's the first thing I said when I came in here.
We expect it, though. We expect them to fuck it up. So, if they do fuck it up, well, then we can just say we told everyone so. But if they don't,
them? See, this is the
the
thing.
American populace, I would assume.
The population has a short memory, and the government has a short memory, because one thing that each side continues to forget is the government is made of the people, by the people, for the people. And if your government is not working for you, then you need to make someone. You need to elect someone who will work for you, rather than continually blaming your government. Replace them. That's
Frank
right.
Underwood for president.
Yeah. So anyone out there listening, later on, or if they're listening to this live, I'm going to tell you right now: if your elected officials in your county, your state, your city, your in the United States, if you don't believe they're doing the right job and representing you and your constitutional rights, or just you in general, you need to get them out of there. If they're a rhino, a Republican in name only, and they don't do a damn thing for you, get rid of them. Elect someone that does believe what you believe, that will do what at least a portion of your best interest, because they're not going to always do your entire interest, just a portion, and maybe, just maybe, we might get somewhere.
Well,
but
as cliche as this sounds, I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you don't exercise your right to vote, then you shouldn't exercise your right to bitch about it. Voter turnouts are low, except this election year. It's higher than it's ever been this election year, because people are fed up. They're sick and tired of the way things are. And, hopefully this maintains itself for every other kind of election, because, people are stepping up on the national level. That's a good thing. That's a good start. But now you need to become more involved in your state and local and, county level things, because that's how you make actual changes.
Right.
I have to say that I think that both sides for the past 8 years have been making us more split and more ideologically different than ever before in the history of my lifetime.
Divide and conquer.
Both sides have been splitting us down the middle and making us want to fight each other. And that's why this has been the biggest voter turnout.
Here's the thing. My grandmother and my grandfather, God rest his soul, they used to be very staunch Democrats, okay, because, he came from part of West Virginia that were Democratic. And the thing is that my grandmother has seen what's been going on in the past 20 years, and she's decided she's not going to vote, Democrat for any Democrat that wants to take away, anything from the Constitution, because that's not what democracy stands for. When she's fed up that the Democrats now want to take things away from people instead of giving things back to people.
Well, see, that's the thing. Your grandmother's of the era where a Democratic individual was a respected, person. I still say this, I still maintain this, that the last great Democratic leader was FDR. And that's from my dad's generation. That Democratic Party back then is
from my grandmother's generation too.
Today.
Now realize you're talking about the same guy that put the Japanese behind bars.
You mean sort of like how we want to close the borders?
Japanese summer camps?
Yeah. Also,
no jokes, please.
The first step in bringing us from the gold standard. I mean, not everything he did was tainted wonderfully.
No,
well, see, that's the thing.
Guy that built the Golden Gate Bridge, the Bay Bridge, and the Hoover Dam all in the same year.
But that's the thing. A great leader is going to have some black marks on their leadership. Their track record. Okay.
Yeah.
Just look at Reagan. He signed NRCS, which basically tells some farmers because their land wasn't farmed before 1986, or even though it was farmed before 1986, because it wasn't farmed in the 80s, they can't use their farm and say it's it's wetland, even though it was farmed in the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
It is extremely common that we look
Reagan
at.
also signed the machine gun ban, okay? And he doesn't have a spotless record either. That's the thing with politicians; they don't have spotless records. And I'm sorry, Dano. Please continue.
That's right. I was just going to say it's very common that we look back at historical figures through rose-colored glasses. Whether it's Lincoln, who literally had 300 Native Americans slaughtered in Minnesota just before the Civil War. Yet we think of him as the great emancipator, this man out there for the poor and the downtrodden of society, those that have been enslaved, and that you look at his record, and it's not as shiny as what we were taught in school.
Yeah, everyone's legacy has black marks. No doubt about it.
I would like to share this. When in the 80s, when people ran for president, it was, oh, they ran this, they had this idea, they have this idea, blah, blah, blah. And then in the 90s, they have this idea, they have this idea, let's argue back and forth. And we're at the point now where it's like the 1960s, where we seriously think that if this certain person gets elected or not, it might be the end of the world. I mean, you understand that in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, presidential elections were boring. It was like, yeah, I like him, I'm with this party, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, holy crap, what is wrong with these people? We've turned into a country where it's a reality show.
It's
Well,
because
the problem is in the
been-
60s where they weren't trying to revoke a constitutional right.
Well, no, it's because, I mean, just getting the news out and the media has exploded. There's the internet, there's everything out there now. Back in the 80s, it was the newspaper. It was magazines.
And TV.
It was...
Yeah.
And radio.
Well, no, because
Yeah,
MTV didn't rock the vote until Clinton era.
MTV elected Clinton for president.
Yeah, that was...
They
didn't happen until the
took
Clinton
full
era.
credit for Clinton's first run as president.
I still think Arsenio Hall got
it. Was
elected.
completely well. It was completely rocked the vote that got that, because they ran the whole thing of pretty much all these campaigns for Clinton during that time.
Mm-hmm.
You make it sound like running for president's a popularity contest, really.
Why do you think they call it the popular vote?
But anyway, I'm just saying, the feeling now is of worry and panic. I mean, let's be honest, nobody likes any of the people running right now. Everyone's like always talking about what's the lesser of two evils. It's not like
we have a
back
two-party
20,
system.
30 years ago where they're talking about what's best for America. They're talking about what's less worse.
And the really shitty thing is that the executive isn't supposed to have enough power to make this much difference in our country to begin with. The Congress is supposed to pass the laws, the executive branch is supposed to enforce the laws, and the judicial branch is supposed to interpret the laws. Things have gotten all out of whack, and the executive has way too much power, and that's why everything's all crazy now, I think.
Yeah, and the thing about Congress, only 25% of Congress ever shows up for a vote.
Yeah, that's got to change.
That's
You get elected
that's
to that
ridiculous.
position, your ass better be there.
Yeah, and I didn't want to get too much into politics, so let's not talk about. I don't mind talking about the government in general. I just don't want to get on the whole.
That's a whole show within itself.
Yeah, the president. That's a whole show in itself.
Nice strike. I'm late into this. What's the topic for tonight?
Now we were talking about open carry, concealed carry. Do you have constitutional carry in your state? Since Sean is already, Sean Ponery is already in Texas, he kind of covered, your aspect. Unless you have something you'd like to share on it.
I'm useless now?
No, I just beat you to it today.
No, you were just late. We start at 9. Remember?
Okay, so I have to say this. Sean is James Bondy. He wears that little PPK underneath his arm in the... You remember the original James Bond when he had that holster that looked like it was on like elastic straps, like made out of a jock strap or something?
Yes.
That was really sad.
But actually, you know what? Bond's original gun wasn't a PPK. His original gun was a Beretta, a 25 caliber Beretta.
But Q took it away because he loved it, but it jammed twice on him and almost got him killed.
Yep.
But he liked the PPK much better, even though he was able to screw on a silencer, even though there was no extended barrel on it, which was just
was
like the first 20 freaking years.
It's Hollywood.
It's Hollywood magic. It is.
So hey, back on the topic of open carry, what do you all think about open carry as an act of civil disobedience?
Hold on.
I did that today, as a matter of fact, without realizing it until I walked back out of the store.
You know, when I dress up formal, like suit and slacks, I had an old shoulder rig, and I'd carry my 327 Night Guard in it. If my coat just happened to blow open a little bit, you know, like Yankees' version of obvious carry, because of the way I dress and the way I carry myself, I don't pose a threat to anybody. Nobody gets nervous around me. When I wear slacks and a button-up shirt and a tie and no jacket, and I have a paddle holster, still nobody feels threatened. I can walk into Quiznos and order a sandwich and carry on my conversation whoever I went with. It's all about the way you look and the way you carry yourself. I mean, if you come in with tore-up jeans and a hoodie and you're shifty-eyed and you're constantly looking over your shoulder, you're going to make people nervous. I'm not saying that wearing a hoodie is a bad thing. It's just you're going to attract a certain level of attention by the way you carry yourself or the way that you dress. And unfortunately, we're just a judge on look society. So, I mean, if you're going to be casual, you can obvious carry still. I mean, just it'll print, but I mean, I just see the way that people carry all around me every day, and most people don't even care. You know, they just see it and they just move on. It's no big deal.
Right.
I have something actually kind of interesting. Has anyone heard about the open carrier who was filming the police officer who went to trial, and he was carrying a black powder pistol? That was in national news, I think. Happened in Arlington.
What?
Okay, so this happened last calendar year, like I think November or December. There are these people in Arlington, Texas, who run around and film the cops.
Mm-hmm.
Who are they film the cops, right? So two of them were carrying rifles on their shoulders on slings, and one of the guys was carrying a holster. This was pre-open carry because it was 2015. He was carrying a black powder revolver in a holster. Okay?
Is it some sort of like CNR loophole?
It is. In Texas,
That's what I thought.
a black powder pistol is not considered the same as a normal sidearm.
Federally, black powder weapons aren't considered firearms at all,
Not
but
considered
some of the
firearms,
states
yeah,
have
yeah.
different laws.
Trios and relics. Yeah, it's
Right,
awesome.
So this guy was walking around with, okay, so get the scenario. There are cops arresting a guy for a felony something on the street, arresting him. Somehow these guys show up to film it. Two are carrying rifles on slings, which is legal in Texas, and the other guy's carrying a black powder pistol in a holster, and that technically is legal to carry before open carry occurred, which I wasn't aware of. So the cops come along and they ask the two guys with the rifles, hey, get rid of the rifles. If you want to film, fine. Get rid of the rifles. And they comply. The guy with the pistol says, no, I can carry this pistol. And they arrest him and bust him down. So the reason I know about all this is I heard on the radio. Well, I'm at the range on Sunday, and one of the guys at the range, Alex, I'm just mentioning something to him about something else, and he goes, yeah, one of the guys goes, yeah, I've seen you in the news, Alex. And I'm like, why were you in the news, Alex? He goes, I'm a lawyer for one of the open carrier filming guys.
Oh.
Okay, so my buddy Alex from the range was defending this guy, and they lost the case, but they're going to take it to the federal because here's the scenario. So you have a First Amendment right to film the police, but if you're carrying and it wasn't a firearm, but they said it was a deadly weapon he was carrying, which can be a knife, it can be anything.
Sure.
It's considered a deadly weapon. You can't film the police while carrying a deadly weapon is what they said. There's some type of law in Texas that's weird like that.
If they can pull the actual law up, they have a case. But if they can't, then it gets thrown out.
That was their premise, is you were carrying a deadly weapon while filming police who were in the process of doing their job or whatever. And because you're carrying a deadly weapon, you made it like...
It's only deadly if it doesn't rain.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but they're going to take it to the federal court, and they're probably going to, because he says as a lawyer, you don't have he says you have a First Amendment right unless you're exercising your Second Amendment right, then you lose your First Amendment right.
So he's skipping the appellate court. He's going straight to federal.
I didn't really get into we were shooting, but we were just talking between breaks.
Yeah.
But that he wants to take it to the federal court, to an appellate court, the federal court, because the state found, I think, in favor of the Arlington police.
I gotcha.
For him carrying that black powder revolver. Again, it's a in my opinion, it's kind of a douche way of doing things. I mean, seriously, before open carry, you're going to carry a black powder 6-shooter that... How are the cops going to know if that's real or not? If that's a cartridge or a non-cartridge carrying weapon, and know the difference?
No, I'm sorry, but you can definitely tell a cartridge between a black powder because of the fucking nipples.
No, you can't. Not if it's an old like a new Army conversion.
Navy
because
conversion,
those were black powder.
Yep.
The ones that were black powder and converted to cartridge. You can't tell that until you're holding it.
And again, his defense was the cop said, well, we were, they said we were frightened in or something. They said something like that we were frightened in doing our job with him being armed like that. And he's like, I have a gun. Oh, he was demonstrating his weapon in a way that was aggressive. And he's like, it was in a holster on my right side while I held a phone in my right hand. He goes, and he said, I had it in I'm right-handed. It was a right-handed holster with my phone in my right hand. How's that being aggressive with it being in a holster?
I cross-draw with my offhand.
Yeah.
Right. All right. I think now is about the time to do a Daily Patch giveaway. So let me go through the gun channels list of the Hit or Miss chat room to see who we got. See if we have any new people. No, I'm not picking anyone in the panel.
Well, let me drop out real quick then.
Nice try, Smeggy. Let's see.
If you pick me this week, I'll pick you next week.
Yeah, I don't believe this. Let's see who.
Let me give a blurb while you're looking for somebody.
Tactical Caveman. Go to gunchannels.com/DPG and get yourself a patch. I saw him first, Wendy. Sorry. Listen next week.
Come back next week, yeah.
You too could win. And I also got something else. Eventually, I'm going to, give away. I told Smeggy about it, but at the gun show, I got one of these bipod foregrips that go on a rail. I'm going to give this away at some point on Hit or Miss, so I will showcase it sometime and show it to you guys, and maybe somebody will get this.
You got to work for that somehow, though. We got to make them work for it.
Night.
You may have to work for it, but that's coming up. All right. I think that about calls it for tonight. I want to thank Heavy B for showing up and telling us all about his hate for California.
Yeah, I hate California.
Or is it your love-hate relationship with?
Also, I'm probably going to postpone my move out to a free state until after the election because, it may not make a difference.
And I want to thank Polecat for jumping in and telling us what's going on in West Virginia.
Well, thanks for having me on your show. I'm sorry I didn't get to bitch and moan and cuss as much as usual.
Oh, no. You're always welcome on Hit or Miss. You're always welcome.
Hey, Lee, hang on. I got a question for you when you're done.
It's not that big. Oh, never mind.
Nathan, thank you for showing up.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Late. But hopefully we can fix that later on. Sean Carter, thank you for showing up after Andalusia Armory's show.
Yeah, no problem.
You know, one of these days, I either have to get on one of their shows, or you guys need to get on one of our hit or miss chats, because it would be nice to get them in on some other chats than what they normally do, because I'm sure they would have a blast.
Yeah, we'll probably start doing a little bit of that, getting maybe a couple people on. We don't want to have like a real big panel at a time, but maybe pop a couple of people in here and there once we get it kind of a little more fluid.
Thanks, Nathan. But Sean, just relay the message to them that, if they ever want to, come on Hit or Miss and just, be the comic relief, they are more than welcome.
I will do.
All right. Sean Ponery, thank you for showing up.
Thanks for having me. And anyone who's living in a communistical state, we've got plenty of room for you in Texas.
Well, careful. I might end up in your backyard.
Got plenty of room for you.
Yeah, just watch out for the dog. All right, and Smeggy42, my man, what's going? I can't do the show without you.
Except for all those times that I'm not around and you do it just fine. But I just want to give myself a shout out. Check me out on Instagram. I'm a like whore. I need more likes.
Yay!
Yeah,
Like
check me out.
Smeggy on Instagram.
Check out Night Strike at Instagram.
Smeggy, I'm going to miss you in a couple of weeks when you melt.
It was 60 today and I didn't melt, so I think I'm doing okay.
Before we end this, I also want to give a shout out to Sean's company, Nathan's company, Sheepdog Leather. So if you need a holster or a gun belt, go to sheepdogleather.com and get yourself one. Now go ahead and order one. They're great. I'm working on getting mine, but I've heard good things about them.
Hey, Knight. I didn't get to plug my show, sorry. I forgot to.
Well, go ahead.
Friday night sites on gun channels. It'll be the Seven Bride channel on YouTube. It's Heavy B. It might have actually happen on Thursday this week due to other things coming up. But anybody here in the panel is definitely welcome to join. And join gun channels. It's free. It's awesome. You'll love it. Join.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So that's all for tonight. Thank you for listening. This was Hit or Miss.